Episode 2, Maine.
Welcome to USA, Myths and Legends, the podcast that delves into the strange, the unexplained, and the truly captivating tales from across the United States. Today we journey to the rugged and beautiful state of Maine for Episode 2. We have two chilling tales awaiting us. Our first legend takes us to the tranquil yet mysterious Pocomoonshine Lake, nestled deep within Washington County. This isn't just any lake. It's a place where ancient whispers tell of a creature of immense power and legendary elusiveness. Before European settlers ever laid eyes on these lands, the Native American tribes revered Pocomoonshine Lake. They spoke of a gigantic aquatic serpent, not merely a beast, but a mystical entity, a guardian of the depths, believed to be between 30 and 60 feet long. Its movements were seen as warnings of natural changes, and its presence, a reminder of the ancestral wisdom embedded in the lake itself. This creature was more shadow than form, a challenge to human sight. Yet the most seasoned fishermen and solitary boaters swore they had seen it glide across the surface, leaving behind an undulating trail that defied all logical explanation. Over the centuries, the description of the Pocomoonshine beast has evolved, but the core elements remain consistent. A serpentine creature with a remarkably long neck and scales that, according to accounts, shimmer with an unusual iridescence under the light of the sun or moon. Despite its imposing size, people describe it as peaceful, a silent specter coexisting with the wildlife without causing harm. Its mere existence, however, is a constant reminder that in the wildest corners of Maine, reality can be stranger and more wonderful than one could ever imagine. The legend is woven into the very fabric of local life, passed down from grandparents to grandchildren, and locals insist with unwavering conviction that the creature is real, an ancient inhabitant of the lake's unfathomable depths. We now hear directly from someone who claims to have had a first-hand encounter with this elusive marvel, Thomas Reed.
It was a morning in August. I remember the date exactly, August 12th, 2024. I went out to Pocomoonshine Lake before dawn, the perfect time for fishing. The air was still, the lake like a sheet of dark glass, reflecting the first blush of dawn. The silence was almost oppressive, broken only by the soft splash of my boat and the distant song of some early bird. I cast my line and waited, enjoying the peace. That's when I saw it, a disturbance. A trail in the water, wide and deep, as if something of colossal proportions had moved just below the surface. My heart skipped a beat. It wasn't the trail of a swimming moose or a large fish. It was something different, something immense. My eyes followed the wake, my breath held in my chest. And then, slowly, elegantly, a neck emerged from the water. An incredibly long neck of a thickness that chilled me. It wasn't the neck of a swan or a duck. It was slender but muscular, and it culminated in a head that I couldn't clearly discern, but which seemed small in proportion to its neck. What really struck me were the scales. They weren't the dull scales of a fish you pull from the water. These scales, they shimmered. They had a color that defies description, a hue between dark green and deep blue, with flashes that seemed to catch the little light of dawn and return it with a supernatural intensity. It was unlike anything I had ever seen in my life, in the wild, in books, anywhere. My mind struggled to process what my eyes were seeing. It wasn't a fish, it wasn't a moose, it wasn't any known creature in these parts. It was something else. The creature remained for a few seconds, its neck erect, motionless, observing the sunrise as I was. I didn't feel fear, not exactly, but a kind of petrified awe, an overwhelming awareness that I had stumbled upon a secret the world was not meant to know. Then, with the same slowness and grace with which it had appeared, The neck submerged, disappearing below the surface without a single splash, without leaving a single bubble. The trail in the water vanished, and the lake became a perfect mirror again. I stayed there, frozen in my boat, for what seemed like hours, though it was probably only minutes. The cold I felt was not from the air temperature, but from the reality of what I had witnessed. I gathered my things with trembling hands and rowed back to shore with an urgency I had never experienced. I haven't told anyone about this until now. Who would believe me? It sounds like madness. But I know what I saw. And since that day, Pocomoonshine Lake has never been the same for me. Now, every time I look at it, I know that its depths hold a living mystery, a creature of legend that breathes and moves beneath the waters, a last vestige of an older, more enigmatic world.
Pocomoonshine Lake continues to guard its secrets, whispering legends to those brave enough to listen, and reminding the world that magic and mystery still reside in the unexplored corners of our planet. Our next tale takes us to the forgotten and misty town of Sabattis, Maine, where chilling stories circulate about an ancient well hidden at the back of the local cemetery. This was no ordinary well. It was completely dry and rumored to harbor dark powers, a kind of primal evil that permeated the very air around it. The most persistent legend, the one that kept children away and sent shivers down adults' spines, was that of the well that drives people mad. At first, only the creaking of the rope and the echoes of their own voices could be heard. But as Thomas delved into the darkness, an unnatural stillness enveloped him, a silence so absolute it seemed to absorb sound itself. The flashlights couldn't pierce the blackness, and Thomas felt isolated, suspended in a terrifying void. Then it began. It wasn't a scream of pain nor of fear. It was a guttural, tearing sound that didn't seem to belong to a human being. Thomas's cries grew more intense, more inhuman, until the voice echoing from the well was a cacophony of agony and pure madness. His friends, paralyzed by terror, immediately pulled up the rope, their hands trembling and hearts pounding. When they finally pulled him out, Thomas's image haunted them forever. His hair, once vibrant brown, had turned completely white, as if all the years of his life had been drained in an instant. His eyes, once full of life and mischief, were empty, dilated, and glassy, unable to register anything. He couldn't articulate a single word, only incoherent babbling and spasms. Thomas was completely insane, his mind shattered. It was said that the well showed those who dared to descend a vision so ineffable, so terrifying, that the human mind simply couldn't comprehend it. It was a revelation of primal horrors, of truths that everyday reality mercifully veiled. Some speculated that it wasn't just a vision, but that the well contained an entity, a being that fed on fear and sanity, leaving behind only an empty shell. Since that night, the people of Sabattis avoided the well at night, and many even during the day, for fear of what lurked in its unfathomable depths. It was believed that the well was not just a hole in the earth, but a door, a threshold to another dimension, a place where the darkest secrets of the mind and the cosmos were revealed without mercy. A place where curiosity not only killed the cat, but destroyed the soul. And now for a chilling first-hand account, transcribed from an old diary, about the well's insidious power.
My grandfather, a man of few words and much rural wisdom, told me the story of the well when I was just a child. He said he had witnessed what happened to a friend of his, a strong and brave young man who had dared to challenge the darkness. They pulled him out, and his hair had turned white, like that of an old man. He was trembling uncontrollably and couldn't speak, only emitted guttural sounds. They took him to the hospital, but he was never the same again, neither physically nor mentally. My grandfather, with a seriousness I had never seen from him, told me never, under any circumstances, to go near that well. It's a reminder, he told me, that there are things in the world we should not disturb, truths that the human mind is not prepared to know, and that curiosity can be a deadly poison that not only consumes you, but leaves you existing in a state of eternal torment.
The well in Sabattus remains, a silent monument to a terrifying truth, a warning whispered through generations about the dangers of seeking knowledge beyond the veil. Our final story for this episode takes us to a place of stark beauty and haunting history, the Wood Island Lighthouse in Bidderford Pool, Maine. This iconic structure stands as a silent witness to a tragedy that has woven itself into the very fabric of the location, giving rise to persistent legends of the paranormal. At the heart of these tales is the story of Thomas Orcutt, a lighthouse keeper whose life met a sudden and mysterious end in the 19th century. Orcutt became entangled in a fatal dispute with a local fisherman, Frederick Milliken. The confrontation, rumored to be over fishing rights or even unrequited love, escalated tragically, resulting in Milliken's death by gunshot. Although Thomas Orcutt was acquitted of the charges, the immense weight of guilt and grief proved to be a heavier sentence. Shortly after, he was found hanged in the lighthouse tower, a desperate act that forever bound his spirit to Wood Island. Since that day, Orcutt's spirit has manifested in various ways, transforming the lighthouse into a focal point for those fascinated by the supernatural. Lighthouse keepers and visitors alike have reported sightings of his spectral figure. He is often described as a tall, thin man, dressed in period clothing, seen ascending and descending the winding tower stairs. Beyond these visual apparitions, a range of inexplicable phenomena have been documented. Lights turning on and off by themselves in empty rooms, and the palpable sensation of a cold, observant presence watching. One of the most vivid and chilling confessions comes from a former lighthouse keeper who prefers to remain anonymous, sharing his unsettling experience.
One night, while on duty, I heard clear footsteps on the stairs. The lighthouse was completely empty, so I thought perhaps a tourist had somehow stayed behind. I went up and there was no one. I turned off the tower light and left. But almost immediately, the light turned on again. I went back up and again, not a soul. It was then that a chill ran down my back. I looked out the window and in the darkness, saw a blurry figure of a man standing, watching me from outside. His face was not clear, but the feeling of his gaze was undeniable. I left there that same night, and honestly, I could never work at that lighthouse again.
Many who know the legend believe that Thomas Orcutt's ghost is not a malevolent entity, but rather a spirit still bound by duty, ensuring the lighthouse continues to function correctly, even in the afterlife. Orcutt's story serves as a somber reminder of how guilt and grief can transcend life itself, leaving an indelible mark on both places and the people who inhabit them. The Wood Island Lighthouse stands not only as a vital beacon for ships navigating the coast, but also for those seeking an encounter with the mysteries that lie beyond. And with that, we conclude Episode 2 of USA, Myths and Legends, having explored 3 captivating tales from the state of Maine. Join us next time for Episode 3, where we will delve into more mysterious stories of Maine.